Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our series on great mysteries. Imagine a prison sitting on a lonely island. It is surrounded by freezing cold water. The currents are fast and deadly. Sharks swim in the bay. This is Alcatraz. People call it the Rock. It was built for the worst criminals in America. Al Capone was here. Machine Gun Kelly was here. The warden of Alcatraz liked to say, "Break the rules and you go to prison. Break the prison rules and you go to Alcatraz." For 29 years, no one successfully escaped. 36 men tried. All were caught, shot, or drowned. But in 1960, a new prisoner arrived. His name was Frank Morris. Frank was not a violent gangster. He was a thief and a bank robber, but he had a special weapon. He was a genius. He had an IQ of 133. He didn't look strong, but he was very smart and very patient. He looked at the thick concrete walls. He looked at the iron bars, and he didn't see a prison. He saw a puzzle. He made friends with 3 other men, brothers John and Clarence Anglin, and a car thief named Alan West. Their cells were next to each other. They whispered at night. "We can get out," Frank said, "but we need a plan. A perfect plan." The plan was crazy. It was almost impossible. First, they needed a way out of their cells. At the back of each cell, there was a small air vent. It was only 15 by 25 centimeters. It was covered by a metal grill. Frank realized the concrete around the vent was old and wet from the salty air. It was soft. "We can dig through it," he whispered. But they had no tools. No hammers, no drills. So they used spoons. They stole metal spoons from the dining hall. They sharpened the handle of the spoon on the concrete floor. Every night during music hour, when prisoners could play instruments, they worked. One man played the accordion loudly to hide the noise. Scrape, scrape, scrape. They dug for months. Just a little bit of dust every night. They hid the holes with cardboard painted to look like the wall. Nobody noticed. But digging a hole was only the first step. If they got out of the cell, they would be on the roof. Then they had to cross the water. The water was the real guard. It was too cold to swim. They would die in 20 minutes. They needed a boat. But where do you find a boat in prison? You build one. They stole raincoats. In Alcatraz, prisoners were given rubber raincoats. They stole more than 50 raincoats. They cut them open and used glue stolen from the glove factory. They melted the rubber to seal the seams. They built a raft, a rubber raft that was 1.8 meters wide and 4 meters long. They also made life jackets from the raincoats. They hid all of this in a secret space above their cells. It was a masterpiece of engineering. Now they had a tunnel and a boat, but there was one big problem. The guards checked the cells every night. They checked at midnight, at 3 a.m., at 5 a.m. If the guards saw an empty bed, the alarm would sound instantly. Frank Morris had another brilliant idea. We need to be in our beds, even when we are gone. They decided to make dummy heads, fake heads. They collected soap, toilet paper, and toothpaste. They mixed it with water to make a clay-like paste. They sculpted faces that looked like them. They used paint from the art class to make skin color. But they needed hair, real hair. So they went to the prison barber shop. They swept the floor and collected the hair. They glued the hair onto the soap heads. The result was terrifyingly realistic. In the dark, under a blanket, they looked exactly like sleeping men. They named the heads Ole and Oscar. Everything was ready. June 11th, 1962. The night was foggy and dark. The prisoners signaled to each other. Tonight is the night. After the lights went out, they put the dummy heads on their pillows. They stuffed clothes under the blankets to look like bodies. Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin squeezed through the holes in their walls. They climbed up the plumbing pipes behind the cells. They reached the secret workshop on the roof level. They grabbed their raft and life jackets. But where was the fourth man, Alan West? Alan was in trouble. He had used cement to hide his hole, but the cement had hardened. He couldn't get the grill off. He kicked and pushed, but it wouldn't move. He was stuck. Frank and the brothers waited for him. But they couldn't wait long. They had to leave him behind. With tears in his eyes, Alan West listened as his friends climbed away to freedom. The three men climbed a ventilation shaft to the roof. They walked across the roof quietly. The guards were just below them. They climbed down a 15-meter pipe to the ground. They cut through a barbed wire fence. Finally, they reached the water's edge. It was pitch black. The fog was thick. You couldn't see the city lights. They inflated the raft using a small accordion-like musical instrument concertina as a pump. At about 1,000 p.m., they pushed the raft into the dark, cold water. They got in and started paddling. They disappeared into the fog. That was the last time anyone ever saw them. The next morning, the guards did their routine check. "Wake up! Stand up for count!" A guard shouted at Frank Morris's cell. Frank didn't move. The guard poked the head with a stick. The head rolled off the pillow and fell onto the floor. The nose broke off. The guard screamed. "The prisoner is gone. It's a fake head." The alarm blared. Sirens wailed. It was the biggest search in history. Helicopters, boats, and hundreds of soldiers searched the bay. They found a paddle. They found a wallet wrapped in plastic. But they never found the raft. And they never found the bodies. The FBI said they drowned. The water was too rough. But were they right? Alan West, the man left behind, told the FBI everything about the plan. He said their plan was to go to Angel Island, steal a car, and start a new life. Years passed. The Anglin family received strange postcards without a return address. Every year on their mother's birthday, flowers arrived anonymously. Then, in 2013, the San Francisco police received a letter. It was written in shaky handwriting. The letter said, "My name is John Anglin. I escaped from Alcatraz in June 1962 with my brother Clarence and Frank Morris. I am 83 years old and in bad shape. I have cancer. Yes, we all made it that night, but barely." The letter offered a deal. "If you announce on TV that I will go to jail for only 1 year and get medical help, I will tell you where I am." The FBI tested the fingerprints on the letter. The results were inconclusive. Was it real, or was it a prank? John Anglin, if he was alive, would have passed away by now. Frank Morris would be over 90. Today, Alcatraz is a museum. You can visit the cells. You can see the holes they dug. You can see the dummy heads. But the men? They remain ghosts. Did they beat the odds and survive? Or are they sleeping at the bottom of the bay? We may never know. But somewhere in the wind, you can almost hear the sound of a spoon scraping against the wall. Thank you for listening to the story of the greatest escape. I hope you enjoyed this mystery. See you in the next episode.